So, good afternoon, everybody. This is Daniele Mirandi speaking, Executive Vice President for R&D at UHopper. And today I am here to present you live a toolkit that we put together within the framework of the iLocate European project, which is meant to help you develop easily and quickly and safely and in a privacy-aware manner indoor-outdoor location-based services. Now, unfortunately, due to some technical problems, we didn't manage to have the project coordinator online, Mr. Giuseppe Conti. He will try to join us in a few minutes. In the meantime, let me give you a quick overview of what the toolkit is about. So let me try to share with you a small presentation that I put together, which is really about what the iLocate toolkit is about. Now, first of all, why do we need a toolkit? Here, I think it's important to make sure that you understand what is the vision that underpins the iLocate project as a whole and the toolkit work in particular. So the vision is actually, on the one hand, to enable interoperable indoor-outdoor location and tracking of assets, and also to allow innovative SMEs and entrepreneurs to easily create innovative businesses through indoor-outdoor location-based services based on open geographical information. And you see, there are three phrases that are actually stemming out of the background. The first is interoperability. We do believe that one of the key issues to tackle to unlock the full potential of indoor-outdoor location-based services is actually to have interoperable solutions, so that there is no need every time to reinvent the wheel, and we can build upon existing solutions without caring too much about legacy. The second one is the fact that we are not meant just to develop things to be owned, to be used by ourselves for our own business purposes, but we want to make it available to innovators, to people who have ideas but don't have the time and resources to develop everything from scratch. And we want to provide a platform, a toolkit, that allows these people to easily and quickly build location-based services. And the last keyword that I would like to highlight here is openness. The iLocate project targets the use of open geographical information, and we are really focused on this open data trend. So all the information that is being developed and collected by the project, in particular in terms of indoor maps of buildings and geographical information about, for example, the position of objects in these buildings and so on and so forth, will be released by the consortium as open data. So what's in the toolkit in concrete terms? The toolkit in itself has to be thought as an interoperable software ecosystem, where a number of different technologies, in particular focus, of course, on positioning technologies, provided by iLocate partners, are interfaced, and here the interoperability term comes back, to provide indoor-outdoor asset location and interoperable functions for a number of different applications. People and asset location, both indoor and outdoor, indoor-outdoor multimodal routing services, asset management, in particular with the idea of developing predictive maintenance services, of course, web and mobile-based visualization and management of open indoor geographical information, and then something which is a little bit more long-term, which is the provisioning by using crowdsourcing approaches of open geographical information regarding indoor-outdoor spaces. So think about it as a system in which you or citizens are able to actually provide easily geographical information about indoor spaces that then can be used by the other services of the platform. Okay, so the toolkit in practice. In practice, the toolkit is a set of open software components which is able to ingest the data from various indoor-outdoor positioning technologies. At the moment, we support 4 with the current release of the toolkit, namely an 802.15.4 based indoor localization system provided by our partner Zigbus, a Bluetooth low energy high accuracy indoor positioning system provided by our external partner, a Finnish company called Kuppa, Wi-Fi through APIs provided by Combine, and GPS. Of course, it's not just about being able to connect to various positioning technologies, but the toolkit includes also a number of enablers for building indoor and outdoor location-based services. Let me show you a little bit more in details what's in there. What you see now on the screen is the high-level toolkit architecture. It is composed of 3 main layers. The bottom layer is what we call the core localization services. What it includes is basically a number of connectors that are able to interface and ingest the data from different positioning services. You see here the ones that I mentioned before, plus some additional one that we are currently integrating. A module for uploading and downloading information to another important part of the iLocate system, which is the portal. Think of it as an OpenStreetMap for outdoor and indoor spaces. A module for configuring basically the ingestion of data and for retrieving data about specific objects. One monitoring component which is meant to provide a system administrator view of the status of the platform. And the 2, let me say, wrapping services. The first one, which is called proxy, provides a unified interface for retrieving location data about an object, so that in a sense your application doesn't need to care whether it's indoor or outdoor. It just calls the proxy, and then the proxy is going to send query to all the other components, all the positioning systems that are connected, and it will just provide you the data. Plus another wrapper which is meant to make sure that the location information is sent out in a format which is compliant with ISO 244130. On top of that, we have a communication bus, which in the current implementation of the toolkit is provided as an MQTT publish subscribe service, which is meant to kind of shield the higher level components and services from the actual low-level details of the positioning data. And on top of that, we have a set of software components, what we call the generic location-based services enablers. These are kind of plug-and-play components, which, well, represent really the bread and butter if you need to deploy an application or a service that makes use of indoor-outdoor location data. What do we have there? Well, we have, first of all, an identity management component, which is, however, not present in the current version of the toolkit. This might come in a few months from now, which allows you to kind of, identify users, define roles, define access control levels in such a way that your solution will comply with best practices in terms of data security and EC and national level directives in terms of privacy of data and personal information. We have 2 components, the OGC Spatial and the Spatial Solver, which provide some basic services when you deal with geographic information, for example, geocoding and reverse geocoding. We have a routing engine which builds on top of the OpenTrip Planner open source framework. which is able to speak, so to say, indoor GML, a newly released standard by OGC, and which supports multimodal indoor-outdoor routing. We have a geofencing component, which allows you to define regions of interest in an indoor space and to associate actions when users or assets move in or out such regions. And we have a location analytics component, which basically exposes analytics about the movement of the assets being tracked. On top of it, we have two specific location-based service enablers. Think of it as kind of, well, applications that can be easily deployed by using the toolkit. And in particular, we are going to deploy both. Two of them, sorry. The first one is an asset management service which supports maintenance tasks and workflow associated to specific assets. And the second one is a crowdsourcing service which allows to crowdsource geographical information and which connects to an existing platform which is called CivicFlow. This is actually the overall architecture of the toolkit. Not all components are currently present in the release, but you can't freely access. So let me give you an idea of what is currently implemented and included in version 1.0 of the toolkit. In terms of the core localization services, well, we have both indoor and outdoor localization components, the ones which basically allow you to communicate and to get positioning information through ZigBus, Coupa, Wi-Fi, and GPS data. Everything is wrapped by the proxy, so that is the only component your application has to care about. We have a configuration module which allows you to retrieve data, for example, the battery level of a tag, which is not about the positioning of an asset, but it's actually about the underpinning and enabling technology itself. And we have the upload-download component, which allows you to retrieve data which is hosted on the iLocate portal. This includes, for example, maps, both indoor and outdoor. It includes description of indoor spaces in the indoor GML standard, and so on and so forth. In terms of the generic RDS enablers, 4 of them are currently included. We have the spatial solver, the OGC spatial, we have a geofencing component, and we have a first implementation of the routing engine, which offers, for the moment, partial support of indoor GML standard. And in terms of specific RDS enablers, we have an asset management component, which is actually a connector to a service, commercial service, which is developed and maintained by the iLocate project coordinator Trilogies. Plus, there are 2 clients. The first one is actually a mobile app. What I mean here by mobile app, don't think of it as a vertical application, but think of it as a template which allows developers to quickly and easily basically build an app that is able to satisfy a number of different use cases. I will come back to it in a few minutes. And another one, which is a web-based graphical user interface, which connects to the asset management service that I mentioned just a few minutes ago. Now, in terms of usage of the toolkit, in the iLocate project, we have identified 4 high-level use case scenarios. The first one is citizen guidance and welcoming. Think, for example, of a public administration. You need to carry out a given procedure. You basically tell the app what is the procedure you're interested in. And through the app, you can book a meeting with the relevant officer. And when the time comes to basically go to this meeting, the app will guide you from the door of your house directly to the desk of a relevant officer, offering, therefore, a combination of multimodal routing and outdoor and indoor navigation. The other use case is asset management, in which basically you want to track the position of moving assets, for example, wheelchairs within a hospital or some other type of portable medical equipment, and in which you can also follow up on maintenance task. So, but for example, if you need to do maintenance on a given portable medical device, the service will, first of all, remind you of the type of maintenance that you are required to carry out. It will tell you where the device actually is. It will take you step by step to the device so that basically you can carry out your maintenance work. There are two more use cases, but are not currently supported in this first version of the toolkit. You see they are in light gray. I'm not sure how much you can actually see on the screen, but it's about people and stuff tracking, which is kind of similar to asset tracking, but here, of course, you have a lot of issues in terms of privacy and access control. And the second one is the inclusion of camera-based systems for security and surveillance reasons. Now, let me show you a little bit how the toolkit can be deployed in practice. This is a pretty high-level network diagram that shows you how we are going to pilot the toolkit starting from July 2015 in 14 pilot sites across 8 EU countries. So on the right bottom part, we have a user smartphone, which is meant to be one of the devices through which the user can actually access the service. This will connect to a local deployment level server, which is meant to be hosted in the premises of the pilot sites, which will be connected to a local PC for basically running the geofencing application, defining the regions to be monitored, and so on and so forth. This will connect to a gateway or indoor localization controller, which will connect to the indoor localization subsystems. Configuration actually might differ a little bit depending on the specific technologies you are interested in using, but typically we have indoor localization tags, so basically devices that are attached to assets, which communicate with antennas or anchor nodes, which are then connected to a gateway, which is able to talk and communicate with a local server. Of course, not everything is local, because then the local server shall be connected over the internet to a iLocate portal, where all open geographical information, maps, and so on and so forth are maintained, and to the server at Trilogies, where the management server is currently hosted. Okay, something more specific in terms of the deployment view. This basically shows you where the components of the toolkit that we saw before in these architectural diagrams are located. As you see, most of the components are meant to be deployed on the local server, exception made for the outdoor localization component, which is deployed directly on the user's smartphone. Think of it, for example, well, as a library which connects to GPS or is able to get Wi-Fi data about nearby networks, which are then used on the server side by the proxy for locating the device. We have, of course, the geofencing, at least the client, which is run on the local PC. The server component is still on the local deployment services. Plus, we have the asset management server, which is run on the Trilogy service. And on the indoor localization gateway or controller, we are basically the server side of the configuration module and of indoor localization component. So, where and how? The toolkit version 1.0 has been made available by the consortium under a permissive open source license, in particular Apache version 2 license. There is a repository which is open, so anybody can actually join. It's hosted on GitLab, gitlab.com/groups/ilocate. And of course, keep in mind that this is a live project, so development is always in progress. In particular, in these weeks, we are working on the support of additional location technologies. By the end of February, The plan is to have also the connectors to camera-based systems and to the use of QR codes. We will add support to EGNOS for, let me say, high accuracy outdoor localization. This shall be in the first half of 2015, and we will also add support to iBeacons. Plus, of course, we are working to integrate identity management and, in a sense, all the components which are part of the big picture of the iLocate toolkit architecture, but are not yet part of the current implementation. And something that we really care about in the iLocate project, as I mentioned before, is openness. So it's not just about releasing the toolkit as open source, but we would actually like the community to contribute, not just to use it for deploying innovative applications and services. That is fine. But what we really are aiming at is trying to build a community of innovators around this toolkit, which are able to contribute to its growth and to its long-term sustainability. So that's basically my presentation of the toolkit. I hope this was clear and hopefully interesting. We have, you should be able to see on the right-hand side of your screen, there is a Q&A application, which allows you to post a question in written form, and then I will be very happy to provide you an answer. So that's it for the moment, and well, right now, looking forward to basically getting your questions. Okay, it seems there are no questions. I'm not sure whether this is a good sign or bad sign. It might mean that I basically already provided all the information you wanted to have, or that you are kind of, I don't know, felt asleep or something like this. Okay, so there is actually a first question which comes on a separate channel, and they will ask about the toolkit when it will be ready in the final version. So actually, the next major release of the toolkit is meant to happen end of July, which means that by that time, all the functionality of the toolkit, all the components will be there, and we will go live on the pilot. Plus, of course, as you might imagine, we do expect that the piloting activities, and we're talking about extensive piloting activities, in this case, 12 months, 14 sites, 8 EU countries, we will discover a number of shortcomings. So, as I said, end of July, you will have a release which I wouldn't consider it final, because I don't think you can consider final something in a project like this, but it will be a complete and stable version of the toolkit. During the piloting activities, I do expect that we will bring in significant enhancements to the toolkit, in particular in terms of non-functional requirements, because of course, right now, well, it's actually very difficult to understand how much, for example, the toolkit is able to scale. Of course, we have carried out some unit tests and integration tests, but I think this kind of things is something you discover only when you go live in real pilots, real applications, when you really deal with real-world problems. Okay, so two more questions that came. The first one is how to access the repository, and you can actually register on the iLocate portal, i-locate.eu. There is a page called Develop, and you can basically sign up there and we will provide you access. And the second one is if you're more interested in knowing more about the project, you can actually check the public documents which are available on the iLocate project webpage. So in particular, description of the overall toolkit architecture, functionality of components, APIs. Of course, there is documentation directly in the GitLab, but if first you want to have some more, let me say, high-level understanding of what is in there, the iLocate project portal is actually the right place to look things up. Okay, so we actually have now a question by Stefano, but well, I hope Stefano you are okay with the answer that I just provided. Okay, some more questions coming from other channels. Can I cooperate with the project? Absolutely, yes. We actually have a scheme for liaison partners. So partners who are not part of the project but want to collaborate with us in a structured way. So again, check on the iLocate project portal. You will find an email address. You contact us. We will come back to you with a very lightweight cooperation agreement. And then we will go into the technical discussion for understanding how we can, on the one hand, best support you, and on the other hand, make really synergies between what you do, in particular, if you are a company active in this sector, and what the project is able to do to you. Okay, some more question. Is it possible to integrate a new technology? Absolutely, yes. This is an open project. As I said, there are a number of new things we are already doing from within the project, but of course, this is open to the community. So if, for example, you are developing a new innovative indoor positioning technology, what you need to do is just to write down a connector which allows the relevant toolkit component, in this case the proxy, to talk to your technology. Once you have done that, basically we can also test on our pilot sites your new technology, and all the partners that are using the iLocate toolkit will be able to use your innovative technology. So it's actually quite a big booster for your own business. Okay, some more question. I would like to know if in this moment there is a beta version of a toolkit to test by Alberto Tartaglione. Yes, Alberto, as I mentioned before, all the code is available on GitLab. Not all components of the toolkit are currently implemented, but what is there allows you already to deploy two use case scenarios that we consider asset management and citizen guidance and welcoming. More functionalities will be added in the coming months, but what you have there is already sufficient for developing and deploying indoor-outdoor location-based services. Okay, Stefano, how to have more information on iLocate? I guess I already provided an answer to that. So again, go to the project website. All the information required is there. If something is not clear, there is an email on the website, or you can write directly to me, and we will do our best to provide you the required information. Okay, another question which is coming from another channel. Do we have a template application? Yes, as I was mentioning before, this template application is provided. It is inside the same repository of all the other toolkit component. It already basically provides it covers one use case, which is this indoor to outdoor routing and guidance, and it can be easily extended to support specific use cases. Oh, yes, something very, very important, something the project coordinator is very keen about is that we have a LinkedIn group. Let me try to find out here the address of it. So it is basically our really main channels for speaking to the community. So I will put in the chat all the address, but if you just browse iLocate LinkedIn, you will certainly find it. It's very active, and what is very good of this community is that key people that are involved in OGC standardization, in particular in the indoor GML standardization, are also part of this group. So if you have any doubt about how we support indoor GML, if something is not clear about the standard itself, because it's standard in progress, well, that's actually an excellent place to start a discussion, get feedback from the community, and work out a solution. One more question from Nicola about new pilot sites in iLocate. Well, that's something which is possible in theory, but of course we need to evaluate it on a case-by-case basis. In particular, in terms, of course, of the effort that is needed for fully supporting a pilot. But at the same time, keep in mind that, as we were saying before, this is open source technology. So if you want to run your own pilot sites, nothing prevents you from just getting the code, deploying it on your own infrastructure, and basically running your own pilot site. If you're talking about an official iLocate pilot site, well, contact the project coordinator, and we will evaluate what can be done there. Okay, last round of questions. So if there are no further questions from your side, I would like to, oh yes, there is one. Documentation and API about the iLocate toolkit by Alberto. So actually, there are two answers to it. The first one is that you can browse the public documents on the iLocate project webpage. In particular, you should be looking for deliverable 3.1 and deliverable 1.4. This is basically deliverable 1.4 includes all the architecture of the iLocate system, not just the toolkit, but also the portal and the other parts of the system. And deliverable 3.1 provides you, first of all, a revised architecture and the details of what is currently on GitLab. Of course, these are static documents, so these are official project documents that we submitted to the European Commission. But I think it's actually a good starting point for understanding more in details what the toolkit is about. Then, as I said, I think that there is no better answer but going to GitLab and looking at the documentation of the code itself. We spent quite some time making sure that the documentation allows external people to use our solutions, and well, I hope we did quite a good work there. Oh, one more question. Can I get technical support from iLocate in case I have a new technology to be integrated? Yes, of course, we are available. Modulo available effort. As you might imagine, we cannot promise upfront before doing some technical analysis of what are the requirements for integrating your new technology. But definitely, we see it as a potential win-win situation. If we have a new technology integrated in the toolkit, this makes the toolkit even more attractive for SMEs and entrepreneurs. And on the other hand, by being connected to the toolkit, you make your own specific innovative technology available to a much wider audience. Okay, so I think we are really done now. So I would like to thank you for your time. This video will remain available on YouTube so that you can basically watch it at any time. If there is any doubt, you can contact me, daniele.mirandi at uhopper.com, or please check always the project website, ilocate.eu, and our LinkedIn group. Thanks a lot, and looking forward to working with you soon.